Hi, I'm Randy Mack. This is my novel, North Side Story, available from Amazon.com. It takes place in the 1980s in Houston, Texas, and it was inspired by West Side Story and The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Tonight I'm going to read an excerpt from the chapter called Christmas Dance. When the opening piano of Open Arms by Journey began, almost everyone found a partner and crowded onto the dance floor. Mandey and Shannon danced close, pressed together from their chests to their knees, arms wrapped around each other, her head against his shoulder. They kissed as the song ended, then the DJ put on the Cotton Eye Joe, and everyone was scrambling to find their friends and get into lines to dance and shout bullshit along with the song. Mandey laughed, one arm around Shannon and one around Charlie as they made their way around the floor. As the song segued into the schottische, they kept dancing. Several girls dancing on the outside ends of the lines, including Georgia, did fancy pirouettes to the music. After that, they sat down to take a break. "I need something to drink," Mandey said, fanning herself with her hands. "Me too," Shannon said. He reached into his pants pocket for his wallet, then remembered that he had some crumpled up ones stuffed in his jacket pocket. He turned around, fumbled with his sport coat, which was hung on the back of the chair, and reached into one of the pockets. His hand came up with something that wasn't dollar bills. "What the hell?" he asked, pulling out his hand. He and Mandey looked down at what he was holding. "Holy shit," he exclaimed. It was a plastic bag containing some brightly colored capsules and some white powder. "Where did that come from?" Mandey asked, panic rising from the pit of her stomach like it was on an express elevator. "I have no idea," Shannon said, making a concerted effort to conceal the bag and remain calm. It dawned on Mandey that she knew how the bag had gotten into Shannon's pocket. Her heart was pounding, but she said, "Give it to me." "No, what if you get caught?" "Give it to me. I'll get rid of it." He furtively passed it to her. She crumpled it up into a small wad until she could almost totally conceal it in her fist. Shannon checked his jacket thoroughly but found nothing more. "Why don't you go get us something to drink?" Mandey told him. "I'll be right back." "Mandey, are you sure?" "Yes, Shannon, go." She and Shannon got up. He headed toward the refreshment stand while Mandey left the cafeteria and went to the restroom. Mandey felt like she was going to start hyperventilating. That would be all she would need to go into a panic attack, attracting all sorts of attention while holding a bag of illegal drugs. She struggled to keep herself under control, walking as fast as she dared into the restroom. She prayed there would be a stall open when she got there. God was good to her. 2 stalls were unoccupied. She locked herself in the first one she came to, flushed the toilet, and dumped the contents of the bag into the toilet. She flushed again and threw the bag in. A great wave of relief swept over her as she saw the bag being sucked down into the sewers. She used the toilet herself and sat there for a few minutes, face in her hands, trying to regain her composure. When she came out, she checked herself in the mirror and tidied herself up. She knew Danny was responsible, and she was furious. She couldn't believe he would sink that low. That kind of sabotage was unacceptable. She had to do something. When she left the restroom, she was greeted by the sight of Shannon being escorted down the hall by a Harris County deputy sheriff who was serving as a security guard for the dance. With them there were Mr. Titchener and an assistant principal, Mr. Carr. A curious crowd was being held back from following by another principal and 2 teachers. Mandey pushed through anyway. "You can't go back there," Mrs. Hibbert said, grabbing Mandey by the arm. Mandey pulled away from her and ran down the hall. "Oh my God, that was close," she thought, rushing up behind them. "I'm telling you, I don't have anything on me," Shannon was saying, handing his sport coat to Mr. Titchener. "Check my pockets, check the jacket." He pulled out his wallet and handed it over and then pulled his pants pocket inside out. "What is going on here?" Mandey demanded. Mr. Titchener turned around to look at her. "We were informed that your friend was seen with a bag of drugs in the restroom," he said, handing the jacket to the deputy sheriff. "Shannon doesn't do drugs. If he didn't, I wouldn't be with him," Mandey said. "Who gave you this information?" "I can't tell you that," Mr. Titchener said. "Why not?" Mandey asked, her voice rising. "It's a false accusation, and I want to know who made it." We'll see if it was a false accusation, the deputy said. Jesus, Shannon exclaimed. There ain't nothing on me, I'm telling you. I want to know the names of the people who say they saw him with these drugs, Mandey insisted. They reached the door to the principal's offices. Mr. Titchener walked in, followed by Shannon, Mandey, and the deputy. Mr. Carr remained outside the door. The informant didn't want his identity revealed, Mr. Titchener said. He claimed to be afraid of retribution. Yes, because he lied, that's why, Mandey said. The deputy searched Shannon's jacket thoroughly once they were in Mr. Titchener's office. The jacket's clean. Empty all your pockets. Place your hands against the wall, feet apart, the deputy said to Shannon. This is humiliating and unfair, Mandey said, stamping her foot. It made an unimpressive sound. The deputy set the jacket down on a chair and began searching Shannon. Mandey stood there with her arms crossed, frustrated. Somehow, she was going to make Danny Sanchez very sorry. He's clean, the deputy finally said. I want to search the car you came in. Why? Mandey said. He has nothing on him. That person was lying. I want a description of your car and your license plate number, the deputy said, taking Shannon's keys from where he had laid them on the principal's desk. Don't you need a warrant for that? Mandey asked. Shannon gave him the information and the deputy left. Mr. Titchener picked up Shannon's jacket and handed it back to him. Shannon jerked it away and put it on. I don't care if you promise to keep this anonymous. I want to know who told you this, he said to Mr. Titchener, his eyes blazing. I resent being treated like a criminal when I haven't done anything wrong. He could sue that person for slander, Mandey said. He might even be able to sue the school district for emotional distress. From what I've been hearing from students, you aren't exactly a blameless innocent, Mr. Titchener said to Shannon. Mandey was infuriated by the remark, and she opened her mouth to defend her boyfriend, but Shannon held his own. Maybe not, but I'm not a drug dealer or a dope fiend like some of your students, he said. Go ahead and have a seat until the deputy finishes his search, Mr. Titchener said, ignoring the remark. Mandey, I'm surprised you're mixed up in something like this. Mandey and Shannon remained standing. Mandey moved close to him, and he took her hand in his. I'm not mixed up in anything, she replied. That deputy is going to come back in here and say he didn't find anything in Shannon's car. She turned to Shannon. It's going to be okay, she said softly to him. I know, he said. I have nothing to hide. Some minutes later, the deputy returned. The car was clean too, he said, handing the keys back to Shannon. Okay, am I free to go now? Shannon asked Mr. Titchener. Yes, you can go, Mr. Titchener said, sounding disappointed. But I want to let you know that we will not tolerate any more incidents such as this here at the school. Shannon looked at Mr. Titchener in disbelief. I'm not the one you need to tell that to. You need to tell your informer to get his facts straight before he makes any accusations. He snatched his belongings off the desk and put them back in his pockets. Let's go, Mandey. He stalked out of the office. Mandey turned to follow Shannon. Amanda, we'll talk about this after Christmas, Mr. Titchener said. It was Mandey's turn to give Mr. Titchener an unbelieving glare. The only thing to talk about is the person who made this false accusation. Otherwise, I have nothing to say, she said, and walked out. To find out what happens next, you'll have to buy my novel, North Side Story, on Amazon.com. It's available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle format. Thank you for listening.